Living in a world that wasn't designed for me has always been a challenge, and probably always will be. I'm Jain, and today I'm talking to you about the thing that has helped me survive in a world that wasn't designed for me as a visually impaired person: technology. I'm going to be sharing with you a few apps that have helped me gain my independence in a way that I never even imagined possible. For some context, I was born with a rare eye condition called LCA, Leber's congenital amaurosis. At that time, blindness was extremely stigmatized, and my doctor said I would lose all my vision by the time I was 5. My parents didn't even think I'd be able to get around on my own when I grew up, let alone stand on a stage and give a speech. Well, I didn't lose all my vision when I was 5, but by the time I entered middle school, I realized I had to relearn how to do basic tasks like use technology and read books, because the eye strain was becoming too much, and I was also losing my vision. I knew it then, but it wasn't until years later that I actually came to accept it, because knowing something and accepting it are two very different things. I used to need help with doing almost everything, which doesn't sound out of the ordinary for a middle schooler, except for the fact that I refused to get any. There were people there trying to show me that this transition didn't have to be so difficult, and I still ask myself why I didn't listen. And the most truthful answer I could come up with for you today is that I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for my life to change, and I certainly wasn't ready for my identity to change. But sometimes we don't change until we literally have no other choice. That's why I consider myself extremely privileged to be talking to you today, because people in less fortunate countries don't have the resources that I do. And I'm lucky that I get to share how I was able to gain my independence with you. I want you to think of your day-to-day tasks: reading, traveling, cleaning. Now I want you to think of exactly how you do those tasks. You get bored, so you pick up a book to read. You realize you need more groceries, so you hop in your car and drive to the grocery store. You see dust collecting on your bookshelf, so you clean it up. Well, those seemingly mundane tasks become increasingly difficult when you can't read the book, or drive the car, or see the dust. So how do blind and visually impaired people do it? We use the resources that we do have. First, I'll be sharing with you exactly how I use technology, and then I'll be getting into specific apps that have helped me. A huge part of independence is being able to use technology. For operating a phone, I use something called VoiceOver. VoiceOver is a screen reader that's used through touch commands. A touch command is when you tap or swipe the screen in a specific way, depending on what exactly you want the phone to do. Now, just to be clear, you can't randomly tap and swipe your phone and expect it to start talking to you. That's not how it works. VoiceOver is a setting and it needs to be turned on for it to work. For example, if you wanted to click on a specific app or link, you'd swipe over to it and then double tap the screen to open it up. The phone reads out to you exactly what you're doing as you're doing it. Basically what that means is as you're tapping and swiping the screen, the phone reads out to you exactly what's happening on the screen in case you can't fully see it. For computers, most people use either JAWS or NVDA, two slightly different programs that work on accomplishing the same tasks. These screen readers are used through keyboard commands. A keyboard command is when you press and hold specific combinations of keys, again, depending on what exactly you want the computer to do. The decision to use either JAWS or NVDA is a personal one and is usually made based on that individual's specific needs. Let's start off by talking about my most used and my most favorite app. A big problem I used to have was with reading physical documents when I didn't have my video magnifier. My video magnifier is like a CCTV, and it helps me enlarge text on paper. But it's only good for using on hard surfaces. So for example, it's great for reading on a desk with, but not so much for reading in bed with. Well, I wanted to be able to read magazines and books even when I didn't have it on hand. One day I discovered an app called Seeing AI. I was amazed with how many features it had. It had the options of identifying items simply by scanning the barcodes, describing pictures from websites, which basically means that you input a picture and it gives you an immense amount of detail on exactly what that picture is of, and most importantly, scanning text on paper and reading it aloud. This app can also read handwriting, which means it can read handwritten changes made to an already typed up document. With this app, I was able to get details about products like their contents, colors, prices, and more. If you met me now, I'd tell you that one of my greatest passions is reading, but it wasn't that way 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I refused to pick up a single book because I hated the amount of strain it had on my eyes. After I discovered seeing AI, I went from reading 0 books a year to reading more than 50. That's a pretty big change if you ask me. What if scanning each individual page isn't a favorable option? My favorite audiobook app to use is called Libby. You simply put your library card information into it, and it connects you with a bunch of libraries in your area. It gives you ebook and audiobook options for the books in these libraries. You can change the speed of the narration so you can listen to the books more than twice as fast. The contents of the books are also easier to understand because they're read with a human narrator, aka correct pronunciation. This app has helped me get through so many books that I wouldn't have been able to get through without it. Another platform for audiobooks that I love is called Bookshare. Bookshare is a platform designed specifically for people with disabilities. It has a wide variety of books that can be downloaded and listened to on many different apps. Some of the pros of this platform are that 1, there's no waiting time for books. This means you can plan what books you want to listen to months in advance without worrying about your loan time running out. 2, you can listen to as many books as you want, with no limits. And number 3, it not only has books by mainstream authors, but also by less well-known authors, which highly diversifies it. Here's something a little embarrassing that'll perfectly lead me into talking about my next app. Growing up, my worst fear was having to use a GPS. Sounds odd, right? Well, for me, I can't just look around and figure out where I am, and the visual cues were a little too daunting. That was until I found Lazarillo. Lazarillo is a GPS app that helps with navigation purely using audio directions. It not only has stores, but schools, banks, and hospitals, and more. You select where you want to go, and it reads out to you specific directions to get you to that place. It lets you know what places are on the way to your destination and starts beeping when you've reached your endpoint. To sum up, Lazarillo helps me travel 100% independently without any sight. What if AI isn't enough? Sometimes being able to physically do something is actually much better than having AI do it for you. In those situations, I use something called a Braille display. I actually have it with me right now. This is a Kindle-sized tool that can be connected to my phone and computer, which means I can do almost anything with it. I can send emails, take notes, read books, and much more. The only difference between a phone and a Braille display is that everything on this device is in Braille. Braille is a tactile form of visual text for those who didn't know. This device continues to surprise me because it's almost impossible to imagine how it puts Braille into such a concise format. I truly think I was able to get to where I am today because of 2 things. The immense amount of support and resources I was provided with being number 1. And the second one being something my grandmother used to tell me every single day as a kid. And she actually still tells me this every time we talk. Turn your weaknesses into your superpower. And that's the one thing I hope you get away from this speech. Remember that you will inevitably have unfortunate things happen to you. That's the objective truth. But the best thing that you will ever do for yourself is to turn your sadness into your strength. Thank you.